Welcome to Plant Your Seed. I'm your host, Fred Ferris. On each episode, we share stories of how ordinary people have transformed their lives. Each story is compassionate, each story is authentic, and each story is a transformation. Here are the stories of the people who are changing our world by transitioning to a plant-based diet. Today I share the story of Mario Buccellati from Mariolinos in New York City. When the pandemic started, Mario decided to take his small vegan Italian kitchen business and change it into a delivery service to help bring food and joy into people's homes. Here's Mario's transformative story. Today on Plant Your Seed, we have Mario Buccellati. Mario's a vegan chef who has recently started Mariolinos, which is a vegan Italian kitchen that delivers to the New York area every Sunday and just started delivering to New Jersey every Thursday on demand. Welcome, Mario.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to have you on Plant Your Seed. My kids and I have been staring enviously at the fresh pasta pictures on Instagram. Now, what inspired you to start Mariolinos and bring food and joy into people's homes?
Well, it all started with doing a giveaway on Instagram. I was just feeling generous one day, and I decided to put a message out on my stories saying, first 10 people that message me get a free sample of my fettuccine. I've been making pasta for a while now, and I got a lot of responses, and I delivered them, and that was kind of the birth of it. People were talking about it and putting it in their stories. And I did another one, which was with ravioli. And people just started asking me, are you going to sell these? Like, I don't want to wait around for a giveaway. This stuff looks really good. And I thought, maybe, if people are asking for it, I should just give them what they want. So that was kind of how it started.
Right. Now, when was this?
This was late February, like the last week of February. So it was very, very recent. And it was right before COVID-19 hit New York, and everything started to close down and people were, becoming unemployed and the city just changed.
Yeah, all of a sudden it became basically delivery-based for everything. So do you still work at Dirt Candy and Avant Garden?
I do not. No. Dirt Candy has unfortunately closed their doors for the time being. Avant Garden is doing takeout and they do curbside pickup, but unfortunately I do not work at either of those places anymore.
Is that what gave you the impetus to start this in the first place? Were you unemployed because of COVID-19 or were you just at a space in between jobs and that's how this started?
It was really the transition of it all because when COVID-19 hit, I had already been doing deliveries, but not nearly to the degree that I'm doing it now. So I kind of got in my business, or I started my business right before the hit. Although many families and individuals are suffering from the COVID-19, I chose to look at this as a great opportunity that was brilliantly disguised as a somewhat impossible situation.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it two different ways, right? You could take it as a negative, or you could take it as a positive. You try to take it as a positive because probably a big rabbit hole you could go down on the negative side. But on a positive side, I mean, you can look at yourself and go, okay, well, what can I do, number one, to help, and number two, to help me and to help people?
Exactly. There was actually a brilliant quote I read, a couple months ago that was, when everyone is in fear, it gives us more of a reason to show courage. And likewise, when everyone is in lack and taking, it gives us more of a reason to give. That kind of fueled the energy behind Mariolinos because everyone's at home in lockdown and everyone has to cook their own food or stand in long lines at supermarkets or get takeout and have it delivered. What I thought would be a fun, exciting project was to offer my fresh handmade Italian vegan staples to the people of New York to encourage them to get into their kitchens and, explore these ingredients and come up with their own things using my products.
I can't even tell you how great that stuff looks.
Thank you.
I would love to be somewhere around New York area. I'd be ordering definitely every Sunday. I'd be like, hey, I'm not cooking. I'm just going to order up I'm going to order
Yeah.
some Mariolinos. Um, Now, how do you go about getting your groceries? You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy these days to get, I don't know, flour or whatever it is that you need to make your pasta. How do you go about that?
So I go to the restaurant depots, which is a wholesaler for restaurants and businesses, to get the ingredients and packaging to run the business. And once I go there, I get everything. I put it into the kitchen, and I use it, and I get the food out to the people.
Wow, I just love this story. I mean, I really do. I love how you are resilient and you're making people's lives better by
Yeah,
taking this as an opportunity.
it's crazy. It really is surreal. Like I said earlier, we're coming up on 3 months of this being a project, a business that I've started. And I've had a couple of people drive an hour outside of New York. They were coming an hour north into New York City just to pick up pasta and vegan cheeses from me. I've also had another person who placed an order who's a friend's father who just passed away. They wanted to give her, and I quote, good Italian food that would feed her body and soul. And
Hmm.
when you get messages like that, you know you're doing something right and you want to keep going. I actually also had last night, this is funny. Last night, I actually got someone who messaged me who lives in Dubai and says that they found my page and they want to place an order for two people in New York City. And it's just, I don't know, these messages keep
That's
coming. It's
awesome.
crazy. I've even delivered to some people who actually have the virus, and there it is no contact delivery. I leave it at the door, I walk away, and then I message them saying it's there. But yeah, she said she hasn't been able to do anything for 3 weeks, and this made her day. And these are the things I'm chasing, and it ensures that I'm doing something right, or it means I'm doing something right.
Yeah, now how does that make you feel? Like if you get it when you get a message like that?
I mean, over the moon. I mean, I have always loved giving food to people. I always cook for people, and more often than not, forget to feed myself in the process. I mean, I'm tasting through the process to make sure it's to my standards, but I just love giving food to people and seeing their reaction. Loving the way it tastes, loving that it can taste the way it does and be vegan. And also, I like to be a little more on the healthier side. And people eat it, and when they are done, they're saying like, I don't feel bloated, I don't feel heavy, I feel good. Like there's not much of a weight that like weighs you down after you eat.
Right now, I know a lot of people who are say gluten free, and you deal with gluten free pastas as well, right? Or
Not yet. I have gotten so many requests.
I know
Um,
I saw the pizza delivery kits, pizza kits. I saw where it was gluten free. Is it not gluten free? The pizza kits, or are those not yet coming?
So the pizza kits, they will be available as gluten-free, but the pastas themselves are not yet gluten-free. The reason why is one, I have not perfected a recipe to provide. And secondly, more importantly, is also my pasta machine, is constantly being used and running. I'm putting flour all over it.
Right.
So I I can't risk the cross contamination.
Sure.
Um, but my cheeses are gluten free, obviously, and so are my sauces. But the pizza kits is a new thing. Yeah, I just started doing that last week, and these kits that I'm coming up with are. I also have a lasagna kit. There are ways to kind of bundle the products that I've been putting out there or putting together for the people who just want like everything at once rather than buying a pound of pappardelle and not knowing what to do with it if they're not as experienced in the kitchen, or they don't want to cook as much. Like they just want clear cut directions on how to make it, and have everything delivered to them, kind of like a Blue Apron type of deal.
That's great. I mean, the pizza kits look fantastic. I'm glad that I'm glad you started those up because I think that'll be a just a big hit for you because people are into convenience, right? Now, what do you make the vegan cheese from?
I have a mozzarella, a Parmesan, and a ricotta at the moment. Um, the mozzarella is made from almond milk, and the Parmesan is made from cashews. Although I have been testing a new recipe where it is actually the base of it is rice flour. It's rice flour and some potato starch, and the reason why I'm going this route for the Parmesan is because I want people to enjoy my pasta with the sauce, with the cheese, but there are also, in addition to the gluten allergies that are out there, there are also a lot of nut allergies. So I want to be able to provide to a larger audience of, of people. The
Sure.
mozzarella itself, mozzarella doesn't typically go on top of pasta. It does for the lasagna, but for the pasta, I have been working day and night trying to perfect this dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free, nut-free Parmesan. So pretty much anyone can enjoy it. And these type of things, working around these allergies, and I feel as though some chefs, some people, can find it a little bit irritating. Like, I don't like, why do we have to cut all these things out? But I actually take it on as a very exciting challenge.
Yeah.
I love being able to navigate these ingredients and understand them at a deeper level because of the limitations. I don't really even view them as limitations. I view them as opportunities to understand the ingredients I'm working with in front of me. And also, the products that have come before for me, in terms of the non-vegan diet of, meats and cheeses and dairy and all of that, understanding the makeup and the chemistry of how ingredients play off each other to then get to a product or end result that is similar or just good enough to stand on its own as a vegan product is something I'm very passionate about. I think it's so fascinating, and I love the results of people just always saying, like, I don't feel bloated, I don't feel heavy, I feel good. Obviously taste is number one.
Right.
Taste is always number one, and I will never argue that. That's the most enjoyable part. We love eating, we love the taste of things. But if I can make food that tastes amazing, but also leave feeling great and not bloated, not heavy, then I've done my job.
Taste is number one. Okay. So, how do you go about it? Do you just have that memory of what Parmesan used to taste like, and that's what you go off of? Or do you give it to, say, your friends or relatives? What's your process?
So the process for the Parmesan specifically is I've been toying with recipes, for years of Parmesan, but they've always been the grated type, where I think a lot of people out there are, they take cashews or almonds, nutritional yeast, salt, a little bit of garlic powder, and they just blitz it up, and it's this fine powder that they can just sprinkle on top, and it is good. I love doing that. I used to do that all the time. For pastas or for Caesar salads or anything that would need that Parmesan substitute. But something that became really the next level of that became really fascinating to me is what if I could not only just give you the graded one or give you the shreds that you buy in the store, but what if I could actually give you a wedge?
Mm,
Because if I give you a wedge, then I give you, or the consumer, more opportunity in the kitchen with that wedge. So they can shave it, they can grate it, they can they can shave it or grate it into a pot, loosen it up with some plant-based milk, and then start to make like an Alfredo or a cacio e pepe. Like, I want people to I want people to feel liberated with my products, that they can make whatever they want with these products because of the form that they come in.
I agree. I would love to make a great Alfredo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of my favorites. It used to be one of my favorite things was making Alfredo sauce.
I feel like I didn't answer the question entirely, saying like, what is the process? But I would say I have just gone down rabbit holes online of papers and articles written about Parmigiano Reggiano, which is the classic heart of Italy, the cheese of Italy.
Right.
It's aged for 24 months. That's something I want to get into. But obviously with the demand, I can't wait 2 years to give someone a wedge. It's something I definitely want to get into. I think having a warehouse of vegan Parmesans that are aged for 2 years, I'm excited to see what's on the other side of that. I've been taking a bunch of my batches, little pieces, dating them and putting them aside to see, what does it taste like in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. But also with the research that I have seen online and read, it seems as though Parmesan or Parmigiano Reggiano has a fruity taste, and it's very sweet, it's nutty, and there's almost a buttery type taste to it. And one thing that I learned that I think is really, really interesting is there's a difference between Parmesan and Parmigiano Reggiano. Parmesan is typically made or in America, or it's just not from Parma. So it's been really a cool rabbit hole to go down because I grew up covering everything in Parmesan. So
right.
It's cool to kind of rediscover my roots, and that's kind of been the joy of cooking for me, especially through a plant-based diet, is growing up loving foods and taking the animals out of it rather than saying, what am I left with? It's how do I get back to that? And that journey allows me to, again, understand the ingredients I'm working with and the flavors that come out of them. And that's just been a really exciting adventure to be on.
Right. Now, how did you get started?
With cooking?
Yeah, just cooking in general. It says that you're self-taught.
It's a funny story. Growing up, I was a very picky eater, and my mom was cooking all the time for our family. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. We're a family of 5 children. So classic big Italian family. And she would cook around the clock. She would make our lunches. She would make these big spreads and everything. And she's a phenomenal cook. She has taught me so much of what I know and has made the most delicious food. But as a kid, I had a very small palate. I wasn't adventurous. I only when I ate pasta, it was just pasta with butter, salt, pepper, and cheese. That was it. I did not even like tomatoes, not even tomato sauce. I was very picky. But being that picky eater, rather than just throwing fits, which I did, I would sit at the table, and she would say, you're not leaving until you finish your plate. And I wouldn't finish my plate. I would be there for 3 hours, and she'd be like, I can't believe this, and that was it. But
were your brothers and sisters saying, you can't be Italian if you don't like tomatoes and you don't like this? You can't be one of us.
I mean, they were just eating as is, and I feel like they would just shrug it off. They weren't really giving me too much lip about it. But what I did through being the picky eater was, it's really funny. I would get home from school, from elementary school, and I would run to the kitchen, go through the pantry, and find things that I wanted to eat. And, not just the processed foods that you just take out, you eat it, but things to make. Mm-hmm. And I would start making meals, and, I'm 6, 7, 8, and I'm trying my best, but that was the start. I started cooking because I didn't want to eat my mother's cooking, which I think is so funny, but it's not an insult to her. I don't want that to be known it's not an insult, because she is a phenomenal cook, but it's because I was a picky eater. And so that's how I learned. I would get home and I would try to feed myself so I was full so I could sit and outweight her at the dinner table. And I would win. And, then when I started to become a little bit older, I would, she would teach me things. She would show me some techniques or new ingredients and, start teaching me along the way. But I always loved cooking for myself because you get to eat it exactly how you want. And if you don't know how to get there, but you teach yourself, if you have the enthusiasm to be like, how do I get that flavor? Like, the way they made it at that restaurant or the way it comes out of this box, like, how do I do that? Like that journey, it's like you get to make yourself happy every time you get in the kitchen and you get to have exactly what you want. You get to educate your palate. So when you go out to restaurants, you can understand like why you didn't like something, what you don't like, and you understand your palate, and like understanding your palate is so important. Another story that actually comes to mind when I was young too, this is more about like, what I said earlier about how much I love to cook for people, is my younger brother and sister are twins. And when they were like 3, I was like 8. And I remember I was in the kitchen with them. They're in their like strollers or, those tabletops, the high top things.
Uh-huh.
And what I did was I would make them like, chicken nuggets and fries and all that stuff. But I would like put it in paper bags and write an M for Mario, not McDonald's. And I would put my like toy cars in there and I would give it to them, and like just to make them smile, and also to see them like, go through, like that was like my plating at the time. It was like, I want to see them open this bag, see what's inside, go through it, they get a toy. And it's like that, I think that is like the essence of who I am as a cook, because I'm always looking for exciting new ways to feed the people, because it makes me feel amazing. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing.
When did you transition to a plant-based diet, and why?
My transition to a plant-based diet was, I think, 5 years ago. It was like, end of 2014 into 2015. I became vegetarian first, actually. I went vegetarian because I saw factory farming videos online, and those videos really messed with my head. I did slip up, sometimes after I saw those videos, but I just felt guilt. Like those images, they're still in my head. I try my best not to think of them. I know that as like, a plant-based chef and being vegan and, just, having that badge, that's part of the reason I'm doing it. But like we said, it's like, I want to focus on the good that's happening, and people need to be aware of that. But I just felt so guilty, and I felt like a hypocrite, for being against what I saw, but still choosing to invest my money in it. But that was for being vegetarian. What made me go vegan was 2 months later. I was only vegetarian for 2 months, but 2 months later, my girlfriend at the time gave me this book called The Beauty Detox Solution. It's by Kimberly Snyder. She's a nutritionist. And I know the title alone implies that it's solely about vanity, but it went much deeper than that. She illustrates how certain foods take more of our energy to digest. And that exhausted energy, the energy that we use or exhaust to digest things, that is the aging process. That's a big part of the aging process. And so she goes on to explain how following a plant-based diet, and even more so a raw food diet, I mean, I think the raw food is one of the best routes you can go, although it can be tough. That can actually slow down the aging process. It makes us feel lighter, more energized, and actually be in a better mood. Because if you eat and you're feeling sluggish, and if that's your baseline, then think about how that affects everything. It's like if you're feeling that way after eating like burgers, if you're someone that like eats heavy and eats lots of meat and just like feels sluggish, it's like, you want to show up best. You want to show up best for the things that you love to do, for the people that are around you that you love. And, food can play a big part on our mood. I know we're very happy when we get to eat, but when we're done eating, we're just like, oh God, okay. Just want to like, let's just like watch the TV and then like we'll get on with the day, or like I need a minute. It's like, that was me. And I had to take a step back and say, wait, hold on a minute. This book is saying that food should give us energy, and I think that's common sense. We feel hungry and we feel like, oh God, I need energy. I need to eat something. I need to fill this void in my stomach. I need to put something in there. I need to put gas in the tank. And the gas in the tank, if you put gas in a car, it shouldn't like make you go really fast and then like stop and have to like go to a pit stop. You should just go. You should be flying. And eating predominantly plants, a whole food plant-based diet can help you get up and go. It won't leave you feeling heavy. And I think that's actually something, especially as Americans, that we have become addicted to. I mean, I can speak for myself. Before going vegan, I thought that was the way to eat. You ate until you were full. And the truth is, we should be eating until we're not hungry. And we should eat when we feel hungry. There's a big difference, and this is all in the book. But there's a big difference between physical hunger and psychological hunger. If someone says, "Do you want to go eat?" and they say, "Oh, I can eat," it's like, well, they're not hungry.
Right.
They don't need food. They don't need it. So it's a lot of psychological. And I mean, could go on for days about, media and advertising in your face, like food. It's cheap and there's just signs everywhere. But I think understanding the difference between physical hunger and psychological hunger is a great place to start.
We'll definitely put that book in the show notes. Is that some of the stuff that you've noticed when you went plant-based, both physically and mentally?
Yes, a lot of what she says in the book, I started to feel the effects of. After a month of cutting out dairy, acne is gone. It's just gone. It literally stops. And I have gone around telling people ever since, like, if you cut out dairy, just try it. Just try cutting out dairy for, like, if you're not going to do it for the animals, it's like, do it for yourself, for like your skin, and just do it for a month and look in the mirror. And I'm confident, that you'll see it clear up. Stress can add acne as well, and there's other variables. But I'm telling you, dairy is such a big reason why people have acne. And I mean, the amount of money that people can be saving on, skincare is crazy, because it's like the dairy keeps pushing it out, and then you put skincare to cover it. It's like, well, let's get to the root of the problem. We can't put like Band-Aids on broken bones. But yeah, I was also able to lose weight. I wouldn't consider myself heavy, but I definitely lost weight and was able to keep it off. And also, like I said, I just felt better. I felt lighter. I felt, I did not feel sluggish. And I didn't feel like I needed to rest after I ate. It felt like, okay, good. I'm done eating. What's next? I would say, like, I just feel better.
Getting back to what you were saying about food controlling you or you controlling food, I've noticed on a whole food plant-based diet that I'm not really hungry. I'm hungry when I'm hungry, but it's not like seafood, eat food. When I'm hungry, I eat. Now, is that the same type of thing that you were just talking about?
That would be an example of psychological hunger. You're going about your day, whether you're in the car and you see billboards, you're walking on the sidewalk and you see restaurants, you see signs, you're on your phone, you see ads. And again, I think it can even be summed up into like, I could eat. That sentence is like, well, yeah, everyone could eat, but do you need to eat right now?
Right.
I think the thing about food is it's a wonderful centerpiece for people to gather around and be together. But again, I think being aware of how much you're putting in your body, or when are you putting it in. And it's not to, I'm not advocating to be militant about only eat when you're, but it's to be more aware. No one's perfect, but I think with what you're doing with this podcast and what I'm providing here, it's like to start the dialogue of, maybe we shouldn't be eating as much, especially with the obesity epidemic that's also going on.
That's one of the things I find is that people overeat. It's like people just aren't eating correctly, and they find themselves still hungry, and they still find themselves not being satisfied.
Hmm. Well, I think it's again being accustomed to that feeling. I was victim of it as well. I mean, some people call it the itis. When you eat and you feel that in your stomach, to me, after reading and applying what I've learned, I've come out of it being that's a feeling I want to avoid, because if I avoid that feeling, I can put my energy into other things. It's
Right.
like I could put more energy into my relationships, into my career, into whatever it is. But I think before understanding that, that feeling, I understood or I labeled it as a successful job of eating. Like, okay, I did it. I ate. I feel this way. That means I ate. Where it's like, no, that means you overate. And I think that's the confusing thing. And again, with what you said with the plant-based diet, people feeling like there's not enough in it. It's, well, it's not that it's not enough. It's that it's just less. Like you're eating less, so you have more energy because that energy is not going to digesting all that stuff.
Did you have any struggles when you first became plant-based? Did you struggle with anything particularly?
Yes, I struggled as a consumer, giving up eggs. Eggs were actually the toughest thing. To my surprise, it wasn't cheese actually,
Hmm.
but eggs were my go-to breakfast food. And as you know, they're a very versatile ingredient, and they're used in so many baked goods. And I love going to cafes, having a coffee, and having a baked good like a pastry, and that usually has, if not butter, eggs.
Right.
And there was that. There was also the social gatherings just with friends and family, like around holidays, and those were tough early on. But being emerging as a chef, the vegan chef, people are becoming more aware, and are definitely like they are providing me with more options if I'm not already bringing them myself. And I also felt like I was being interrogated. I mean, it's kind of natural to feel that way, I think.
Right.
Why.
Now, can you give us an example of like that situation? Okay, so you go, I guess, home, hanging out with your brothers and sisters, and are they vegan or they're not vegan?
No one in my family is vegan. My mom is, I would say, like 95% vegan. But yeah, no one is vegan in my family. And so that does make it tough. Early on, I think my choices weren't taken as seriously. As I've progressed to, do more things in the culinary world, they've started to see that there are more options, and that it is viable. That there was worry of if I was getting enough of this, enough of that.
Why do you think that is? All of a sudden, everybody becomes a nutritionist. You know what I mean? It's like people
Yeah,
are eating McDonald's and stuff like that, and they're asking you where you're getting your whatever from, this vitamin or that vitamin. And you're like, nobody seems to care until you become vegan.
yeah. I mean, I think it's very peculiar that when I went vegan, a lot, as well as I'm sure a lot of other people have, people around you start to ask why, what, like you're asking me right now, why did you go vegan? But they don't just stop there. They say, why don't you go vegan? Or why did you go vegan? Was it for the animals or the environment or your health? What was it for? And just that alone, just with what they said, what they're implying is like, I understand that people do go vegan for animals, for the environment, and for their health. So if that's what they're implying, it's I do my best, and I never attack people, but I I'll ask the question. It's like, if you were to take that and make it a negative, if you've looked into it, why didn't you go vegan? If you've seen the videos, or it's like, do you support the animal cruelty? Are you against the environment? Are you against your health? It's like, and obviously it all sounds outrageous, and obviously that's not a serious question, but I think it's very peculiar that it's like I think they might be looking for an in. They also feel maybe like they have to say it to break the ice if it's weird because they're eating a burger in front of you or whatever. They're actually they're the ones who are actually giving the reasons why they should. And I don't think, a lot of people are aware that they're doing it in the first place.
Don't you think that they're thinking about it, and therefore, in a way, you're getting to them? You've actually planted the
Yes,
seed
pun
that
intended.
that this is something they should look into, and they've looked into it, and they've found it's for the health of the animals or the planet, and they've decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, you're in their head.
Yeah, I do my best, to not shame anyone for their choices. I don't believe that's a way you get through. I don't believe that's a way to communicate with people. It's about educating, and with serious topics that people might have been, on a different side. It can be about unlearning, and unlearning anything is very tough. You grew up that way, or you understood it that way. And if someone is just telling you, like, if someone tells you you're wrong, then, like, it's tough to start a conversation there.
Right.
But what I tried to do, and what I did for myself, was, okay, you've got my attention, I'll give it a try. And if I don't feel, or if this doesn't work for me, then I'll keep going. It's like the scientific method, like, just hypothesize and test it. And that's exactly what happened with that book. It was like, okay, having more energy, having better skin, feeling lighter, having the energy to do all these other things I want to do, and bring energy to the ones I love. If that's on the other side of cutting these things out, rather than just arguing it against it, well, let me try it out, because honestly, I don't know. I need to try it out for myself. And since I've done it, I've reaped the rewards, and I just continue on that path. But I will say, again, to go back to your question about a struggle, there was one incident or there was a couple incidents where there was one at a friend's party, and it's like this dinner party. It was just like tons of people, and in the kitchen, the cook, the chef, who is one of my friends, he pulls out this long sirloin, like, strip, just like this big piece of meat. And I hadn't seen meat in so long, because, again, I cook for myself.
Right.
I'm not around it, and I don't like, I do go out to eat, and, like, explore a lot of the vegan restaurants that are here, but I'm not often dragged to restaurants with other people, and I'm more of the foodie in my friends group. So I don't have to, like, see that as much. But I remember seeing it, and it's one, when you see the factory farming videos, it's horrifying. But then seeing that, him pull that out, I actually had an emotional, like, a drain. It felt like, a ghost, and I felt the shame, I felt guilt, I felt fear, and it was just all coming from that. It was just the energy in the room from me seeing that. It was a visceral reaction, and me just feeling, I think, even, like, maybe the best word is just sad. I was just
Mm.
like, oh my God, like, I was moved, and it kind of, like, just, yeah, it kind of, like, spun the whole night for me. I was just like, I don't know about this, and I just kind of, like, stayed away. Another thing that I think is interesting, come to think of it, is being in New York. I used to take the subways all the time before the shutdown. And for anyone who's taken the subway in New York, one of the golden sayings is, if you see something, say something, right?
Right.
And we teach our kids, see something, say something, like in elementary school. But when those same kids, or now adults like us, when we see these factory farming videos and are traumatized by horrifying real life footage of the reality that is happening every day, we feel the need to say something. But unfortunately, when people such as myself try to start a dialogue about these catastrophic, unforgettable images, we are most often met with the response of, I don't know, I don't want to see it, I don't want to know about it. And those type of responses give me great pause,
Right.
because if that's what they're eating and they don't want to see or know how it's made, then where does it start and end? Like, if a chef cooks a meal for someone and accidentally drops it on the floor, don't you think the customer would want to know?
Right.
Like, rather than just keeping that reality behind closed doors. I think there should be, as crazy as this sounds, and it's crazy because it is crazy, like these shouldn't be behind closed doors. It's like, if it's okay to eat and it's okay to do, then it's okay to look at. Why is it behind closed doors?
Right. Like, is it wrong?
Yeah, because it's like, as in elementary school, it's like kids have greenhouse classes, and they learn about gardening and fruits and vegetables and photosynthesis and all that. But could you imagine it, like, if we were like, all right, like that's how plants, that's how they're made and they grow, and it's like, all right, so like next week we're going to the slaughterhouse and we're going to learn how like meat is made.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like there would be an uproar. There'd be an uproar. People would be in, it would be a panic. It would just be like, how could we do this? But those same people that would be in a fit about like their kids, coming home with a permission slip saying, could you sign this? I want to go to the slaughterhouse and see what's happening. They'll be outraged, but they'll still feed that same kid meat or cheese or any of these things that are behind these closed doors 3 times a day.
Right.
And that, again, I'm not coming from a place of shaming. I'm coming from a place of asking questions, starting a dialogue. It's crazy that I think what's going on behind these closed doors and the fact that people don't want to look, and it's the things that they're putting in their body. I mean, especially think about, we're in a global pandemic right now, and people are very scared of what they're putting in their body, and everyone's wearing masks. It's like, well, I mean, take a look at this footage. Like that's what you're putting under that mask. Granted, there is like the whole sanitation or whatever. It's like, you can't confront it. People are not confronting it. And I find that puzzling.
No one wants to talk about, no one wants to actually think about. Everybody just wants to go to the store, get their styrofoam packet of chicken or beef or whatever, go home, cook it up, and have dinner.
Well, we've removed the emotion from it. It's not called cow, it's called beef. It's a different name. When you think of beef, you think of like ground beef, you think of like tacos, you think of those foods. You don't see the animal. And again, it's because it's behind those closed doors. So you don't see it. You don't have the connection to it. And I live in New York. There's no cows around here, and it's not, I'm not going to lie and say like I'm around cows and I love them and everything. But the thing is, I love them in the sense that I know that they're a living being and that I don't need to kill them. Like I don't need to pay someone to kill them for me to live. I mean, I've been living better the last 5 years than I was when I was investing money to kill them. I think another side of the slaughterhouse, which is something that I actually posted in my story, and a bunch of people reached out that are not vegan that were like, this really hit me, which was, okay, forget the animals. What about our fellow man, our the human beings that we're putting to work to do this dirty work for us? There have been journal entries, and articles from these slaughterhouse employees and workers that are nightmares. These people have nightmares, PTSD. They develop addictions. Their mental health is deteriorating by the slaughter. And we, like, I don't know, you got up today and you were like, all right, we're going to do this podcast. And I'm getting up today and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make all this pasta. There are people out there that are like, I'm waking up and I'm like, I'm going to go kill all these animals. And, I can't think of myself doing that. And, I think hunting, although I disagree with hunting, I think, one man killing one animal, as bad as that also is like, he's out there and he's doing that. That's its own thing. But when it's an organized system by the billions annually, and it's so crazy you can't even fathom it. It's billions. It's by the billions. There are people out there that are just slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering and killing and killing. And even the word slaughterhouse, it's like, is that something? I don't know. It's not something that I can get behind. It doesn't feel right in my heart. So I choose not to.
Right. It's definitely a devastating situation. I can't even imagine being those people who have to go to work every day and do that every day, and the numbness that they must feel 8 to 10 hours every day, just killing something every minute or two,
Yeah.
it's gotta take an effect on you.
I mean, it took effect on me for watching 3 seconds,
Right.
5 seconds. These people are there covered in blood and guts. This is not a movie set. This is not fake. This is not staged. This is real, happening every day, and people are just turning a blind eye to it. And I think if people, looked, I don't know. I mean, it's an emotion. It comes from, my heart. Like seeing that happen hurts my heart. It doesn't make me think. That's the thing. It's not, it doesn't have to do with like intelligence. It has to do with like feeling. Like it doesn't feel right with me. I think, you know, way back when there were, and I know there are some out there, but like small family farms and they feed themselves and maybe they slaughter an animal, it's like that's one thing, but that is not what we're dealing with. We are dealing with so many areas of our planet being demolished to build more slaughterhouses, to feed more of these animals, to grow them and slaughter them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, people just don't look at it the way we do yet. I think that they will eventually. I know that they will eventually because it's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk to you all day long. I really could.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
really
very easy to
enjoying
talk
this.
to you. Yes.
But let me get to some quick questions so I can let you go. What is one habit that helps you stay on track with your plant-based diet?
It's a good question. I think it hasn't been that hard for me to stay on track, but I would say that it's remembering the feeling of just that heavy, dense, bloated feeling. And occasionally the videos that come up on my Instagram feed of just, the animal cruelty.
Now, what do you use for egg substitutes? You had mentioned that eggs were a difficult situation for you. Do you use that like flaxseed thing or aquafaba, or what is your go-to egg substitute?
Flaxseed, the flax egg that has become very popular in the vegan community, I think is a great alternative for more of the. I like to blend that into like more of the sweeter foods, whether it be like a baked good. If you were to do like waffles or pancakes or muffins, cookies, like all those things. And, I think flax on its own doesn't taste great, but the thing is you're able to mask it, but still get the properties of what an egg would do, in the product. I've also found, oddly enough, like bananas can also work well, again, depending on the, like bananas and baking soda
Mm-hmm.
uh, can help within baked goods as well. As far as like the scrambles and all that stuff goes, I think tofu. I think everyone kind of knows that the tofu scramble is really good, and if you can also do a chickpea scramble by using chickpea flour and water and just doing a ton of spices, sautéing it, and it comes out really nice and fluffy. And I use turmeric if you want the color. It's always good to throw turmeric here or there.
Yeah, that's my go-to is the chickpea omelet. I love the
Hmm.
chickpea omelet. You just throw the I don't know, onions, tomatoes, garlic, mushrooms, peppers, throw them all in there, mix it all up. It's all good.
Yeah.
What are the favorite restaurants or cookbooks or book that you would recommend to someone transitioning to a plant-based diet?
I would say, as far as restaurants go, I mean, the way I tend to look at food now is there is a difference between being plant based and vegan. I think vegan is more of the imitative, I would say like Champ's Diner type of thing, where it's like where you could just attach the word vegan to the dish. So it's like vegan chicken or vegan, blank, fill in the blank. I love those restaurants, and I go to them, or I used to visit them, before the whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I would say, as far as the plant-based ones, which I think are amazing, unbelievable, because they're really, what I like to say is celebrating the vegetables on the plate. They're really showcasing them. I think one of the best places. It's a vegetarian restaurant. They do vegan. They do all across the board, soy free, gluten free. Like it's all at the beginning when you're ordering. But is dirt candy? I worked there before the pandemic, but when I first ate there, no joke, I ate there once 2 years ago and just knew in my heart I was like, this is the best restaurant in like the best vegan food I've had in Manhattan. The ideas, the owner and head chef Amanda Cohen is brilliant, and her concepts of not only flavor combinations and plating, but like it's the whole experience. It's you don't see a menu. It's multiple courses, and it's a real show. It's a real performance, and it's provocative. And those are the restaurants that I really strive to find and seek out. It's not about getting a bite. It's about having an experience and starting a conversation around food. And it doesn't even have to be about like, where does it come from and more of like the ethics, but more of like, what is going on here? This is very interesting. And I would also say ABCV. ABCV is wonderful.
I love ABCV.
Wonderful. And then as well as Avant Garden, which I also used to work at. It's funny. I really, before this pandemic, I was working at the two restaurants that I looked up to the most. And, ABCV is a third. I went there for the first time in December. So I was already working at these two other places. And I wanted to get into that kitchen. Yeah, those are the three restaurants I would strongly recommend. Anybody who's a foodie or really wants to not just eat, the imitation vegan food, but more like plant-based, sophisticated food. It's definitely worth a visit. It is a higher price, but it's justified. And as far as cookbooks or books, there is the Kimberly Snyder's The Beauty Detox, which is more about nutrition and dieting and energy. Dirt Candy's cookbook is amazing. They do have a cookbook where where Amanda does share a lot of her secrets, but also Crossroads from Tal Ronan, in LA. Wonderful, wonderful cookbook. And they're doing amazing work right now with meal kits. And that, I would say, that also inspired me. They're doing pasta kits as well. I just saw, I think yesterday, like they're doing a tortellini that's lemon ricotta tortellini. It's like, it just looks so good. And every time I'm in LA, I have to go there. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I love that place. Now, finally, can you give me one word to describe how you felt before you became vegan and one word to describe how you feel now that you are vegan?
That's tough with one word. One word to describe before I went vegan would be disconnected. Before the whole transition, and like having been on this side now, I believe I was disconnected from the food on my plate, not knowing exactly how it's made and where it comes from, like in terms of, what's happening again behind those closed doors. I feel like I've said that many times.
Right.
But yeah, that I felt disconnected from my body, and I feel like I was following the crowd. It's just like, this is how it is. This is what we do. And I wasn't questioning what I was putting in my body. And I'm a firm believer in, questions are like everything. We must be asking better questions to get better results. And I would also say I felt disconnected from people because after going vegan and like reading about all these diseases and again the factory farming, people were very quick to argue and not confront the source of their food on camera. Did you ask one word to describe myself after going vegan?
Yeah. How do you feel now that you are vegan?
In one word, I would say green. Green because it symbolizes growth. It's very evident on our planet. I mean, like right now it's May and it was 80s the other day. Like there was one day that was like 82 and it was amazing. It was so sunny outside. And over the last month, the trees are, coming back with the green. And I feel like that lifts people's spirits. I mean, especially in the Northeast, it's like when it's snowy, when it's windy, it's cold. It's like, people are cold in their demeanor and their attitude. Right. But when it's sunny, and the plants are green and the grass is lush and flowers are blooming and you just see all this green. There's a word. It's called biomimicry. I think it's when you take meaning from things that are happening in your environment, like with nature, with like the biology of things. And also green means go. So it's like get up and go. And I'm able to get up and go much more easily. And, I'm able to do a lot more because I have the energy. I'm putting my energy towards this business, rather than like digesting.
Right. Right. Hey, so great. So great to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to be with us. What is the best way for people to find you on Instagram, the web, social media, so they can check out Mariolinos?
Yes. Well, also thank you for having me on. I mean, this is my first podcast, and it's been a wonderful conversation with you. You asked great questions, and I've had a pleasure answering them and having a dialogue. People can find me. My Instagram is Mario, my name, Mario _Buccellati, Buccellati. I know it's a nightmare to spell, but that's my Instagram. Mariolinos is eat _Mariolinos, Mariolinos. I still am in the process of getting the website together. I've been doing all of the business on Instagram itself, but the website is mariolinos.com, and that should be up within the next month.
It's great. Everybody. And around New York, make sure you go to Instagram and order up Mariolinos, because I can't do it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mario, for being on the Plant Your Seed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Hope you are inspired by this story, and remember, it's never too late to plant your seed. Links to everything we talked about on the podcast can be found on Instagram at plant.yourseed in the show notes tab in the bio. If you enjoyed the show, remember to leave us a review, and until next time, thank you for listening.